What's a piece of advice you received that you initially ignored, but later found to be incredibly valuable? When people show you who they are, believe them. It blows my mind how many people just accept what someone will say. You really cut through a ton of BS if you simply pay attention to someone's actions and just disregard anything they say. Taking care of your back. As someone who is 28 with chronic back problems, this would have been great to listen to back when I didn't have the issues. I remember the days when I wouldn't be struggling to get into my car because of lower back pain. Now I do. Take care of your body, especially your knees and back. Your reputation takes years to earn, but only a moment to destroy. My nephew used to drink and drive when he was younger. I would tell him that if he drank, drove, and killed someone, it wouldn't matter how good of a person he was before and how much his family and friends vouched for him. To the rest of the world, he'd be seen as a POS. And they would be correct. Sure enough, when one of his best friends killed someone in a drunk driving accident and was sent to prison, he saw with his own eyes what I was telling him. My grandma always used to say that if you have a butthole, you have a way to make money. And in this economy, she's not wrong. But what if you don't have a butthole? I got a permanent ileostomy bag and they removed my colon, rectum, and my bumhole got sewn shut. Am I doomed to be poor forever? Oh god, Reddit, why? Never assume you know what a man is thinking. My dad. Watch how a man treats his mother and that will tell you a lot about how he will treat you. My grandmother. Never trust a fart. Also my dad. Bail somebody out once, you're a hero. Do it 3, 4, 5 times, you're just enabling the problem. There's a saying in Spain, I don't know why they're upset at me, I've never done them any favors. Yeah, it's odd how the people who you do the most for seem to be the most ungrateful little shits about it. Don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. I've actually learned to do the exact opposite. If I'm not hungry when I go grocery shopping, I end up buying very little, resulting in me living on takeout until the next time I go grocery shopping. Yup, I go without being hungry and end up not having enough for a full week's worth of food. I go hungry and I grab a little extra food than what I need for the time, and it's still cheaper than the 1 or 2 days I'm short from my earlier example. A piece of advice that initially fell on deaf ears but later proved invaluable was to embrace failure as a stepping stone to success. While I used to fear failure and its associated setbacks, I've since realized that every failure is an opportunity for growth and learning, and it has indeed paved the way for my successes. To put it another way, success is nothing but a series of failures you ultimately defeated. Honestly, that's some advice that I think a lot of people could really benefit from listening to, myself included. In a fit of mean girlness, my best friend in 6th grade decided she would only be friends with me in private. She wanted to hang out with the popular crowd at school, and she didn't want to seem close to me there. Naturally, I was pretty upset about this. My father advised me to stop hanging out with her, and when I saw her in school that I should be polite but cool. Essentially, this was sort of grey rocking. I did not take his advice, but I definitely think it would have worked. She was no idiot. She knew I was a quality friend, and losing me wasn't worth it. She only saw me as expendable because she thought I would just cling to her anyway, which is exactly what I did. I did take my father's advice in other circumstances multiple times later in life, and it is marvelously effective. You'll never convince a narcissist that their behavior is wrong or is abusive, etc., because their ego is too big to admit that they're wrong, so there's no use in trying. It's also a complete waste of time to understand their point of view, and discussion just gives them room to manipulate and exhaust you. If you need something from them, feed their ego, get what you came for, and get out. Be careful with the toes you step on, might be the ass you're kissing later. Never experienced it firsthand, but have seen it happen to many others. On the bright side, sometimes it's your ass that gets kissed later by those who picked you. I think people need to be, in general, better prepared for burning bridges. The most aggressive bridge I burned professionally is with a company that has called me multiple times to come back. Step on toes, but step when it's right. Also, be excellent to everyone. You never know who you'll meet. I was chilling, talking to this stranger for a long while, just treating him like everyone else. I became an acquaintance with him, and it turns out he's a billionaire. Almost a decade later, we are friends because I treated him like a normal person. Don't sweat it. I live this way now. It pretty much means that I don't give a shit anymore. I don't worry about things out of my control, and if I do screw up, I don't let it get to me. I learn and move on. Yes, I used to be stressed out every minute of every day. Then I realized, why worry about it if I can't fix it? And if I can't fix it, why worry about it? I'm not saying it's a complete cure for stress, but it has greatly helped me. Again, some more advice I should probably follow myself. An older friend once said to me, talk to women the same way as you talk to men. Sounds ridiculous, but when I was a teenager, I was very shy around women. But as soon as I started talking to them as if I was just talking to another guy, I noticed they became attracted to me more often. I made more female friends and completely lost my anxiety. You're showing women what you're really like, so they won't be disappointed when they get to know you and you suddenly drop the fake personality. I used to pretend to be sad or really uber confident, and it didn't work. But when I just spoke to girls as if they were guys, they related to me far more easily. I think you can spot false confidence, so you just have to speak your mind and maybe occasionally say something nice about them. If they're into it, they'll respond. Don't stick your dick in crazy, or let crazy stick its dick in you. Close your legs to powder kegs. I did. Married her, went through a roller coaster ride for about a decade, and thankfully ended up happy in the end. Getting close to 20 years now. There is hope for the crazies. They just can't be at 11. You can save an 8 or a 9 with hard work, understanding, and a good bit of heartache. I'd recommend 6 or 7 max, though. Just food for thought. In hindsight, it was worth it. She's a beautiful human being, just been through some rough stuff. Don't give a shit about what other people think about you. This behavior is so liberating. I realized that time I spend thinking about others is nothing compared to time I spend thinking about what other people think about me. Everyone is busy dealing with their own stuff, being concerned about what other people think about them like we are. Nobody's perfect, and we share the same timeline with people, like individual parallel universes with different DNA, background, experiences, relations that end up determining our actions beyond our control. A bully might be abused by his parents. A narcissist might have had a lack of love in their childhood. We all experience the same timeline with different conditions. We are like outputs of different functions with different inputs beyond our control. As the great internet maxim says, haters gonna hate, so there's no stopping it. People are going to hate you for even being alive, never mind what you say or do. So fuck them, that's their problem. Understanding math is essential to succeed in life. You don't always use a calculator for everything, but to be able to intuitively understand how exponential or compounding patterns work, how statistics can be manipulated, how to negotiate, how to budget, etc. Even just intuitively understanding things like, if I do this, maybe it is a little risky, but it's probably like a 0.5% chance, so it's fine. But if I do that every week, then statistically it would result in a big problem every few years, so that's not really a sustainable risk to take. Without actually calculating anything, just to understand the concepts is extremely useful in so many facets of life. When I left a secure but boring and ill-paid job at a television station to freelance in film and TV productions, my father cautioned me to put away 10% of each paycheck for a rainy day. In the beginning, I didn't take his words to heart, and then shortly after my first anniversary as an independent, the industry slowed to a crawl. I experienced some tough times that I barely survived. I recall that at my lowest point, I had the next month's rent in hand, but no money for food besides a small baggie of pocket change. My heat was about to be shut off in the middle of an Alberta winter, and I had to ask my father for a loan to pay the gas bill and for groceries. So by the time work eventually picked up again, I had learned my bitter lesson and began to follow his advice assiduously. Through the course of my career, I suffered through 2 additional film industry slowdowns, including the pandemic, but both times my rainy day fund saw me through financially and kept me from staring at the bedroom ceiling all night. 42 years later, I am now retired, with a surprisingly well-capitalized retirement account and membership in a gold-plated private healthcare plan. And in 3 weeks, for the 3rd straight year, I'm forsaking frigid Canada to winter in Mexico. Not a bad outcome for a guy with a lousy Bachelor of Fine Arts from a regional university. In my young adulthood, I had to do battle with 18% mortgage rates, 12% unemployment, and a decade of stagflation. But I think in many other aspects, young people today are facing as fraught an economic climate as I did back in '81. And I understand that today, many people's ability to put something aside for a rainy day might be more limited than mine was, but I strongly encourage those who can to do so. Banks are out to get you. Stick with credit unions. About a year ago, I got a letter informing me that I was part of a class action lawsuit against a bank I used and left many years ago. Turns out they ripped off millions of dollars from their customers. The letter came with a check and a disclaimer that if I cashed it, I would not be able to sue them privately. How much was the check? 87 cents. I still have it. Might frame it and hang it on my wall. F*** banks. Comparison is the thief of joy. Don't keep up with the Joneses. In many cases, the Joneses are mortgaged to their eyeballs, or are being helped by well-heeled parents, or are secretly miserable. When I got to the point where I was genuinely happy for others' success more than I was upset at how it contrasted my own shortcomings and failures, I was much happier. If you don't like your significant other's parents' behavior, there is a pretty decent chance you won't like your significant other after a few years. I'd heard this while dating my ex-wife. We got married. 15 years later, she became a total conspiracy nut and QAnon junkie. She became cruel and a total GOP nutter. Her behavior was so like her parents, but when I pointed it out, she became enraged, called me a Dem sympathizer, and filed for divorce. I was a Republican at the time, but switched parties after Trump came into office. I guess she was partly right. Unless the parents are so bad that they inherently become the opposite. The one comment I've taken to heart is just walk. It applies to everything. When we get excited, nervous, upset, we all have a problem with rushing and screwing things up. I heard it as a paramedic when my partner said that to me as I was running to some scene. In that case, I was physically running, but we all need to slow down, think about what we need to do and what is safe. If we apply to every situation to just spend a few moments to consider our actions, the repercussions of doing something wrong, and what good running headlong into circumstances does for the victim, the problem, or yourself, then we would make a lot fewer mistakes. Take the time to walk through mentally and physically what is best and what is the right thing to do, and then take action. I would also add to that to just walk for clearing your head. If you can, it's a lot better to walk away from a situation for 5 minutes, and then come back to it after having had a chance to calm down a little bit. The financial rule of thirds. 1/3 to cost, 1/3 to spend, 1/3 to save. Now, I couldn't ever do this, but aspiring to it made all the difference. No, I don't expect in this economy that you're gonna get even close, but that's not the point. It's making sure you have savings and minimizing your costs. Stop chasing happiness and start seeking fulfillment. It will bring a natural flow of emotions as you succeed, fail, or experience life, and you'll grow as a person. It will also help with finding a purpose for yourself in life other than work, Netflix, and bills. Alright, now we move into the rapid fire segment. 4 stories too short to make a full entry out of, but too good to be left out. Let's jump in. Beware of what you say, when, and to whom. Don't fall in love with anything that can't love you back. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around. Procrastinating leads to a burden. It's the root of most problems, whether you're a kid or an adult. Don't drink alcohol if you are suffering from anxiety. The worst thing you can do when someone shouts is shout back. You wouldn't believe the amount of confrontations I've managed to de-escalate by just calmly talking back to people. Stop worrying about the opinions of people you don't respect anyways. If you wouldn't take their advice, don't take their criticism. If you can't get along with your significant other's family, then don't marry them. Don't cheap out on shoes, your bed, or tires. Pretty much anything that keeps you off the floor. Don't be afraid to let family members go if they're toxic. I learned my lesson the hard way with this one. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that portion. What you permit, you promote. If people gossip with you, they'll gossip about you. So guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check the comments down below for the link to the thread used. I'm ReddList. I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.
Oh, Jesus!